The popular image of caves is a lifeless pitchback hole in the ground. While caves are dark and subterranean, they are by no means lifeless. Caves hold a spectacular amount of different species, many of these only found in one specific cave. They can be found everywhere on Earth, but no matter where they are, life for their inhabitants is rough. To survive, life has branched in a whole new direction.
The most common type of cave is the solutional cave, most of which are formed in limestone. When rainwater seeps through the soil, it picks up extra carbon dioxide, turning into carbonic acid in the process. This acid slowly eats away at the limestone and forms a cavity within the earth. These caves are often filled with stalagmites, pillars rising from the ground, and stalactites, which hang from the ceilings of caves. They form in a similar fashion to icicles, but water is replaced by dripping carbonic acid. Another relatively common type of solutional cave is constructed as a result of extremophiles. After feeding on oil deposits deep within the earth, these microorganisms release hydrogen sulfide gas. The gas then combines with the groundwater to produce sulfuric acid, eating away at the rock and creating the cave in the earth. A good example of this is in the Lechuguilla cave in New Mexico, famous for its extravagant chandelier ballroom. The complex, hanging crystals in the cave are made of the very soft mineral gypsum, making them extremely vulnerable to the touch. This particular chandelier ballroom is so perfectly intact due to the lack of human contact it has faced over the years. In sea caves, also known as littoral caves, fragile points of coastal rock are broken down in the process of erosion. This is a result of waves constantly pounding against the shoreline rock. These caves can be found along coastlines all around the world. Another main type of cave is the lava cave, specifically the lava tube. After lava flows continuously, a layer cools due to external conditions and forms a crust. Once this crust is formed, the still molten lava continues to flow through the center, and once it is expelled, an open tunnel is left behind.
The first zone of a cave is the entrance zone. In this area of the cave, there is still enough sunlight to allow for plant growth. The second zone of the cave is called the twilight zone. Here, light begins to diminish to the point where plants struggle to complete photosynthesis, resulting in very minimal plant life. The third and final zone of the cave is the dark zone. There is zero light here. The result is no photosynthesis and no plant life. Animals that live in caves are broken down into three different groups: the troglozenes and zygozenes, the troglophiles and zygophiles, and the troglobites and zygobites. The difference between the animals categorized under the prefixes troglo and zygo is that troglo animals are terrestrial and zygo animals are marine. Troglozenes refers to animals that can't rely solely on the caves for their entire life cycle. These animals are found to use caves as temporary shelter, a resting place, or a hunting ground. Most of the time, these inhabitants are found in the entrance zone of the cave. Troglophiles are animals that can complete their entire life cycles either in or outside the cave. Without having to rely on the outside world, these animals can be found to use any zone of the cave. The last type, troglobites, can only live inside a cave. Due to adaptations, if taken outside their cave, a troglobite would die. These animals also can be found in any of the three zones. To live in a cave, you need special adaptations not seen in most other places on Earth. The most common adaptations in cave-dwelling creatures are the loss of pigmentation, partial or complete loss of eyes, extension of sensory hairs or antennae, elongated legs, reduced size, and changes in reproductive behavior. Most of the adaptations are directly or indirectly caused by the lack of sunlight. One of the more interesting adaptations is echolocation. Some believe that bats are the only animals with this ability, but cave swiftlets also use this form of navigation. Although you may be skeptical of the effectiveness of echolocation, it can be seen as a perfect source of navigation for cave swiftlets. These birds can find their individual nest out of thousands, in complete darkness, solo by echolocation. Another interesting adaptation is the bioluminescent glowworms of New Zealand that use sticky threads to catch their prey. These threads are secreted by the glowworm, and when something is caught, the glowworm proceeds to reel in the strand and whatever prey is caught in it. The glow of the bioluminescence attracts many troglozine insects that still have eyes to see the light.
Depending on a cave's size and orientation to the surface, there may be the amount of light necessary for photosynthesis and therefore plant life. In the entrance zone of the cave, there will always be enough light to support plants, but this zone may be very small or inexistent depending on the cave's orientation to the sun. This also determines the plant life in the twilight zone. The species of plants that live in these zones are defined by the surrounding ecosystem. These plants tend to be stunted and feeble compared to the other members of the same species. Moss is one of the species that thrives in this particular situation. Moss has specialized lens-shaped cells that can magnify small amounts of light. As you can see, caves are among the most interesting biomes on the planet. They exhibit unique structures not seen anywhere else on Earth. The fight to survive under these harsh conditions have allowed for many new species to develop, each species more astounding than the last.